Thank you so much, Miigwech. Thank you to our drummers and, of course, to our First Nations peoples who allow us to be here today and tenders of our land for so long. First message today, to thank all of you as citizens for standing up against a wrong-headed government, against a law that is trying to interfere with our rights. So first message to all of you whose voices have been raised, thank you. Because Canadians now know what this government is attempting to do. It's attempting to use the premise of a threat to take away our rights. And there's a long history in our country where people have stood up when governments have tried to take away rights, or when people have risen up to make sure rights are gained. I think of just back not too long ago, 100 years ago, when women were fighting for the right for franchise, or First Nations were fighting for the right to franchise. They weren't given the vote. They had to fight for it. And I'll be damned if anyone is going to take away the rights we fought for under the premise of security. Because, my friends, a free country is a safe country, and a safe country is a free country, and we have to protect our liberties. And don't buy into this false argument that we have to balance security and rights. That is not the equation. The equation is making sure we have our liberties, that we protect our liberties, because that's what makes us different from others. Now let's talk about what's in this bill. This bill will give CSIS further powers. And if the irony here is, if we recall why CSIS was created, it was because the RCMP was overstepping its boundaries. And so we created two different agencies, or we created a new agency to give CSIS its oversight to do some things that were at the time required. But we did not ever contemplate to give CSIS the ability to do what this government wants to do. And so that's why we oppose it. We oppose it because it's going to interfere with civil liberties of Canadians. It is about oversight. As you know, in this bill, there is no oversight for CSIS to strengthen. It simply says, oh, what we have now is sufficient. Well, here's what the government has done in the past. For CERC, which is the oversight body for CSIS, they've made appointments such as Arthur Porter. Remember him? Arthur Porter sits in a Panamanian jail right now. And that's who they had appointed to oversee CSIS. That's how incredible this government is, to actually have the audacity to say, no, everything is fine as is, as they give more powers to CSIS. They have taken the whole notion of our charter and said, no, when we decide it's not relevant, we'll give the power of CSIS to look the other way with our charter. That's not protecting liberties, that's undermining liberties. And when we look at what the real dangers are, where is this government? They're not working with the community, as other countries are, to say, let's work together to stop extremism. They're simply handing over powers. So their claim that this is somehow going to make us safer is ridiculous. It's going after people who are going to stand up to this government on issues like the environment, on First Nations rights, and others. And we say no to C-51. It can't be allowed to pass. We will stand up to it, and that's why we're here today. Finally, I just want to say that we heard yesterday some amendments will be brought forward. These amendments aren't enough. These amendments are the same amendments that were brought forward after the first Anti-Terrorism Act was brought forward in 2001, when the then government tried to overreach on the definition of who constitutes a threat. They're going back on that, but make no mistake, there is too much in this bill that affects our liberties that we will have to stay in opposition. And I want to send a direct message to my colleagues in the Liberal Party. It is not good enough to say that you're against this bill and then vote for the bill. Now is the time, and I plead with them to join us and say no to C-51, vote against it now, show Canadians where you stand, and be consistent on protecting civil liberties, because Canadians want to see a strong, solid opposition to this government on Bill C-51. That's why we're here. That's what you've done. Thank you very much, Miigwech, and the struggle continues.
Thank you.